Your Excellency, it is my pleasure and honor, on behalf of all the delegates to the 44th National Conference on Information, National Council on Information, holding here at Osogbo, to express our collective appreciation to you and your administration for accepting to host us. When 2 years ago in Calabar, your Commissioner for Information moved the motion to host this conference, we all felt it was good to come here for the conference. We were supposed to be here last year, but because of exigencies beyond our control, we had last council in Abuja. But in doing so, we reassured your delegation that the resolution at Calabar will be implemented this year. That is, that Osun State will host this year's council. I'm delighted that God has enabled us to bring this to fruition here today at Osogbo. Osun is, like you said, a unique state. In Yoruba mythology, every part of the human race is said to have come from Ife. Yes. Where human race was first created. Although my Benin friends keep insisting that we need to research further into history. And you know, as a historian, we don't ignore any sources. But we all do know that all Yorubas worldwide accept Ife as the source. And so we're happy to be at the source.
Thank you.
Osun is also a unique tourist destination. Long ago, we have been coming here, both as a reporter and indeed as a development worker. I've been here severally, and each time we came, we were taken to Osun Grove. Then the German lady was still there. And we saw your unique contributions to global history in culture and civilization. So Osun Grove has become an annual festival, and we urge the government and people of Osun State to continue to develop this, because information and culture, tourism, knowledge will work together. And developing tourism is so crucial now that we're looking towards alternative sources of revenue for our country. In many countries like Israel, Egypt, even the United Kingdom and several other countries, tourism constitutes a significant national resource. And to have two tourist centers, Ife itself as a big tourism destination, and then Osun Grove here at Osogbo, it means that working hard, you truly can turn this into remarkable sources of revenue generation, not only for Osun State, but indeed for Nigeria as a whole. Excellency, the National Council on Information brings together all the managers and policy makers in the information sector and practitioners to brainstorm on how best we can develop the information sector in our country. And so I'm here with everyone in the Nigerian media industry. And so wherever we go, the attention of the country is focused in that place. And so today, Your Excellency, everyone is here. And this presents the best opportunity for the government and people of Osun State to project the achievements, what they have done, what they are doing for Osun State to the rest of the country and the world. Globally today, we have become a village, like Professor McLuhan said years ago in the United States. That with the advances in information technology, the discovery or the invention of the satellite, the telephone, and the computer, and placing the microchips, putting this together, today the world is witnessing new developments that we have never seen before. So the advance in the social media have given the world a new face in human communication. Everywhere today, majority of people are hooked onto the social media to the extent that the traditional media are threatened. Recently, Your Excellency, the Washington Post was sold for a paltry sum because today newspapers, magazines are struggling to survive in the face of new advances in technology that have made the massive communication between people, data, voice, among people of the world so commonplace. Here with your handset, you can broadcast any information to any corner in the world and receive signals from everywhere in the world. This has indeed shown clearly that our country must refocus. And so, in the Federal Ministry of Information, we thought this year's conference should focus on the use of social media, not only to publicize government and other social activities, but to place developments in our country at the edge of global communication. As Minister of Information, I arrived in the ministry and I saw that we were lagging behind. But today, particularly in the last 2 years, we have taken the social media to the forefront in communicating to the rest of the world. Everything we have done in the last 2 years of my leadership of the ministry has placed centrality on the use of the social media, to the extent that I can tell you that the federal government of Nigeria today under President Goodluck Jonathan is the most documented in the history of our country. Everything we're doing at the federal level, policies stretching from agriculture to solid minerals to gas, oil and gas, the energy sector, everything, education, all the opportunities, all we're doing under the President Transformation Agenda are hosted in the social media. So today, you don't really need to worry yourself to go to Abuja or go to any ministry if what you're looking for is information. All you need to do is maybe go to Twitter, go to the site, our website, go to Facebook, go to Twitter, YouTube. All we have done are all hosted there. And you can access us from any part of the world. Now, we believe we should advance this further because it is far more cheaper to use the social media than the traditional media to sell ourselves to the rest of the world. It's cheaper, it's more convenient for everyone at the end. It's more convenient for you to use it, it's more convenient for people to access it. So in the last 2 years, we introduced programs and we tried to use the social media to sell them. I tell you, we began the ministerial platform, which is a platform of accountability, that the federal government must account to the people of Nigeria, and every minister must come forward and speak to the people about their priorities, programs, and activities. We did that and streamed live on the social media. This year we held the second edition.
Please continue, I'm listening.
Thank you. This year we held the second edition of the ministerial platform, again live on all the social media platforms. At a point, we were being followed by about 27 million people at a time around the world. And people ask questions from anywhere, any question, and we answer them straight and live. Now, this has shown clearly that with a little push, the social media really can be really a platform for our country, to sell itself to the rest of the world. When I went on the National Good Governance Tour, which is still an ongoing activity, we also ensured that wherever we went, all the activities of the state governments we visited, local governments, federal government, were also lively reported, live on all social media platforms. So the social media, in spite of all the shortcomings we have seen, and there are several shortcomings, because for the present moment around the world, the social media have no gatekeepers like the traditional media. So people say all they want is an all-common market. And that in itself is a challenge, not only for our country, but the rest of the world. And it's also, an avenue that is being misused by some misguided people across the world, to commit crimes. Now, these are aspects of the social media that we all around the world will need to work hard, to defeat. But generally speaking, in spite of the shortcomings, the new media have come to stay. Take it or leave it. If you don't concentrate on the wrong people to use them, and also using them to do a lot of things around the world today, you will leave your community behind. Today, JAM, all the JAM scores, people go for exam the following day, they could see their scores. We're all using social media now. Virtually, application for employment, for anything in this country today are all now on the social media. So that is why this year we decided that we should focus attention on the use of social media, how we can develop it further in our country, what we must do, to protect it, to develop our people to use the social media for proper communication, both among ourselves as citizens and between our country and other parts of the world. So we are happy to be here in Osun State this year, and since yesterday, my permanent secretary and all delegates who arrived before me have told me how they have been well received. Let us express our gratitude to you. And your commissioner also said, Osun is peaceful. Surely the source must be peaceful. Yeah. If the source is not peaceful, then the Yoruba race all over the world will be in jeopardy. So, and we cannot but say that peace should not be taken for granted. Should not, because you need to go to the northeast of Nigeria today. Maybe move from Yobe to Borno, and see how quickly, our society can be decimated by ourselves. And we continue to say that peace is the foundation for development. Peace is the only guarantee that our society will not be left behind. You cannot make any meaningful progress in a place where there is no peace. And I'm sure if there is no peace, none of us will be here today. Maybe we would have gone to another place to host this conference. So peace itself is very, very crucial for national development. But more significant is the fact that we are here in the best tradition of cooperation among the different tiers of government. I've continued to make the point that the federal government does not have a separate constituency. In every federation, the federal government is a service provider for the development of states. That is what we do at the federal level. We provide policies in coordination with the states, both in national councils like this and also, as you know, in the National Economic Council. We try to advance the country. And the federal government, the president, for example, is elected from all over the country. And so his duty as president and our duty as ministers is to continue to explore ways of cooperating with states so that together we can develop the country. That's what it's all about. And also, we are here in the best tradition of a multi-party democracy, where elected leaders or appointed leaders must work across party lines for the development of our country. And I think this is the lesson that we must pick up as we move forward in this democracy. I'm not here for the first time, like I said. I've been in Lagos long time ago, and I stayed there for more than 10 years. And we made our sacrifices for the development of this democracy. We have always worked together to move Nigeria forward. So our language, our temper in this democracy must be such that they unite the country. Our utterances, the way we look at our country, we will still, struggle with each other for power, which is what democracy is all about. But as you've seen in all countries of the world, there are red lines. If you go to the United States today, politicians from all parties know where American interest begins and ends. They disagree among themselves, but collectively they will stand up as one man to defend the integrity, the unity, and the power of the United States. The same thing happens to the media. No matter how they will disagree internally, when the interests of the United States is at stake, the media, as very diverse as they are, will always come together to project American interests. And Nigeria is really moving in the right direction in terms of developing our media. As I say, media are part of what you call the soft powers of nation. And you cannot really ignore the soft powers of nation today. The West won the argument against the Soviet Union through their own media that were more advanced. They won the Cold War without firing a bullet against each other. And that is what we should do. So as Minister of Information and as National Council on Information, all of us collectively, our duty is to continue to develop our media. Create an environment where our media will prosper. Create an environment where the freedom of the press will be maintained. And at the national level, Your Excellency, I can assure you that both President Goodluck Jonathan and all of us working with him are convinced about one thing, that our democracy must strive on a free media. And that is why the president, in spite of pressures before, was able to sign into law the Freedom of Information Act to give our media additional access to information about public actions and programs. And this has indeed increased our capacity. In fact, we did that at the same time that South Africa was busy arguing about whether it was good to keep their own freedom of information afloat or not. We said no. Nigeria has always thrived on freedom of expression. And so we believe that this should be the case. Now, I must say that for us to succeed, states and federal government must work together. We have no option. That is the only way our country will develop. At the federal level, the transformation agenda is a program for the whole federation. We are working on our priorities very seriously, and you will notice that in recent time the trends have started moving through Osogbo again, after several decades of stagnation, and stoppage. And I also understand that we have also taken good advantage of it to have free rail transportation for the people who come for Salah and Christmas every year. So I want to praise you for taking advantage of the new railways, for taking advantage of the rehabilitation of the railways between Lagos and Kano for the first time to help the citizens of Osun State. And we are working hard on that. Our duty is to ensure that we replace the old rails with new ones.
Correct.
And presently, we have concluded the arrangement to build a standard gauge line between Lagos and Ibadan. Then it will be stretched from here through Osun, eventually to Abuja. All those designs are on. The first standard gauge line we are building is between Abuja and Kaduna. We have gone 70% complete. They are now laying the tracks along those routes. The one between Warri, and Ajakuta, Etakwe has been virtually completed up to Ajakuta. We are now moving from Ajakuta to Etakwe East. So we believe that this alternative means of transportation is the best for a very populous country like Nigeria. Because we are moving on roads, there is no way those roads can last. Every heavy document, every heavy duty machine in this nation today is moving on roads in Nigeria, until very recently. We have also launched the haulage of petroleum products from Lagos to Kano by rail. This has been going on now for quite some time. We're also importing new railway coaches. Already by middle of next year they will come, so that there will be more comfort, because the existing rehabilitated old coaches are for a time, but definitely they are being replaced, and that will be done to give our people more comfort. So priorities all over, we are working on them. Power sector, Your Excellency, is not easy. For more than 10-20 years, nobody was talking about building new power plants in Nigeria. And our policy was wrong. In fact, at a point you recollect that it was illegal for anybody to build a power plant. It was one of the so-called commanding heights of the economy, for which the private sector was fenced out. Now, what we are doing, which is revolutionary, is to return power to business. That is being done. In the next week, the new discos will be handed over to their private investors. And the 10 power plants we are building, 7 of which are completed, are already going to the private sector. So we expect that from next year, God willing, when all these people settle down, the new power plants are completed, Nigeria will witness stable electricity. But for as long as we have not put the last knot, we will still have power outages. So my hope in the new power sector is not just that we're building new power plants, including additional one at Zongeru, but that the electricity system is now going to take off the same way that telecoms have gone. We struggle with NITEL. For you to get a telephone line, you must bribe somebody in NITEL. And you stay by your telephone for 30 minutes. I was a journalist in Kano. To get ringing tune, you have to go to government house. And when you are there, it took not less than 30 minutes for you to have to send your story to Lagos. And we will line up there sweating. But from 2001 to now, that has all changed, because we have deregulated and we have allowed the private sector to take the lead. From 450 analog telephone lines, we now have about 120 million mobile lines in Nigeria. So this is the progress of 10 years. This is the progress of 10 years. That is what happens under democracy. We may be fighting and quarreling, but also progress is being made. And we should acknowledge that across party lines, because often the impression by some anti-democratic forces is that because we quarrel over election, because we quarrel over power, it means that democracy is not working. It is not true. Democracy is working at all levels, at the state, at the local government. We can do better, definitely. And every society can do better. But we must collectively defend the ideas of our democracy and the enterprise of transformation of our country at all levels. So we are working the same way now in other sectors of the economy. Before, where there is a deficiency, if you had not sufficient power supply, if you didn't, you say, what do? Government should do another one. Now today, the talent of leadership, as we saw from China in 1978, and you and I should know better, particularly the two of us. Now, in 1978, when Deng Xiaoping came, the idea was, where will China go? Do they continue in the old tradition of government owning everything? Or do they open the Chinese economy guidedly for, the market? Now, Deng Xiaoping was called all manners of names. But they were very committed. In just 1978 to now, it's about 35 years, and we were all grown-ups. In just this period of time, China has moved from the backwaters of the global economy right down to number 2 economy in the world. This is truly very transformational. And this is what Nigeria is also doing now. In the 2-3 years of the president's agenda, Nigeria is growing at 6.5 to 7% per annum. Now that GDP growth cannot be taken for granted. Some will tell you, what is the need for GDP growth? There is still poverty. There will still be poverty for quite a considerable period of time, given where we are. But the GDP tells you the size of your cake, and you can address serious national problems as they come. And the president has been able to stabilize this. Stabilize GDP growth at about between 6 and 7%, the highest in the continent. And in addition to that, in spite of all the problems we face, we remain the number 1 destination for investments in Africa under this period. And this is really very, very good. Now, as we come to Osun, we will urge you to generally bless the agenda for development. We want to see every state of the federation make progress rapidly, because the progress of the states is the progress of Nigeria. Leadership at the state level is factored into national progress. If states are not making progress, we cannot even talk of economic growth. So what you do at the states, tell us, and to the federal program. And together, we can take Nigeria to the next level. So we are happy to be at Osun today, and tomorrow the council proper will begin, and we expect that you're also going to be there with us to formally declare it open as the host governor of this state. And we hope to work there until maybe very late at night, or maybe early morning early morning Saturday, where we expect to conclude. And then after that, maybe those who still want to stay back and go to Osun Grove, or maybe go to Ife and see the source, can do so, because nobody will be rushing. There is still Sunday. So all delegates to enjoy themselves at Osun. And I urge you all to please take what you can take. And please, generally, like we say, ensure that you return home. I thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Let's give him a standing ovation.
Thank you. Thank you. Which year were you the
Mr. Governor,
Secretary? Which year? With concurrent accreditation to the Ministry of Defense as a minister there, Malam Labaramaku. I want to pause here to say some few things. He made a reference to a thing that very few of us will know why he did so. Malam Labaramaku developed from the same tradition from which I developed. Let me move on. I'll talk about that later. My deputy, Iyafin Grace Titiloye Tomori. Thank you for always being there. Secretary to the government of the state, Alhaji Masud Adeoti. It's my pleasure. Alhaji Adeoti was the chairman of the party. At the moment, I won't tell you, the only accident I'd ever had in my life, which almost cost me my life, was on the way from the Council of Works in Uyo, some few years back when I was in the commissioner in 2003. I passed out for some time and I was taken for dead, but I, surprisingly, came back to life again. I didn't die. But it was an experience. So I appreciate very well the significance of the councils for the various ministries. It's a good forum to brainstorm on what we must collectively focus on as leaders of respective departments of government nationwide. So it's a joy to me to be the host governor for this year's Information Council. And I'm happy that the Honorable Minister had taken the maximum advantage that this gathering could give, and a visit like this too could afford. Of course, the entire world will be listening to him to see what he makes out of this year's council. I was not surprised. Labaramaku came from the best tradition of student activism at a time that the only focus and needs of students were development. We may not, or we might not agree with government, but every action we took was focused on how best to advance our nation. That was the tradition that produced him. He came several years, 6 years after my own time there as a student union leader. 6 clear years. I left school 80. He was the National Secretary of NANS, 1986. And if we must commend the president, is the fact that people like this are where they are. Clap for that. And it's not just a joke. He has, there can't be a better salesman for any commodity. How will you hear him and not give the president distinction? It's beyond personal distinction. You cannot listen to him with all he has said without looking at any paper and say that the idea that this man is talking about must be the best in the world. I'm not the one to say whether it is true or not, but we must commend him for his dexterity. And that's about it. He's an amazing, good choice for the ministry's man. And that in itself is a statement that we must seek to put the best in positions where service is required. So I thank you and I commend you for your brilliance and commitment to your assignment. I know it's tough, but the additional responsibilities saddled on you now before a substantive minister comes there too must be equally dealt with or handled. I have no doubt in your capacity to so do, though I know you are not as well prepared for it as you are for the present one. But please demonstrate equal sagacity in the management of the Ministry of Defense for whatever period of time you are there. And that brings me to what Akere said when he was introducing this. The civilization itself came about because of man's quest for security. There won't be human settlement if security was not an issue. So, to remind you and all governments in Nigeria, they need to put security at the heart of all other programs. Might be an overstatement. I don't need to repeat it. We are happy here to tell you that if we want to be honest, our state will be second to none in guarantee of security. We have invested so much in it that we are sure that no harm can touch you here. I will not preempt myself in telling you so many things I must tell you, but whatever it is, I must not fail to tell you one thing that your council must address, even though it's not strictly your council's business. And it is related to security. It's, in fact, it's centered to security. Recognizing the significance of security to development, we invested beyond our capacity in ensuring that no harm threatens, not even touches, threatens anybody that is there. How? We realize that a major challenge to security operatives and agencies is communication. It's difficult for victims to reach the security men. And it's quite difficult even for security operatives to reach themselves. We therefore, not knowing that a lot had gone into a federal facility that is here as it is in other states, but unactivated. And that's why I'm using this forum to talk about it. We not only went into another round of investment in almost similar facility, which I want to describe as emergency call center. Using the best equipment and organization to put it on. If I have to be open with it, we use the company of the Nigerian Air Force, AETLS they call it, Aviation Electronic, whatever. We completed it close to a year ago. As we completed that, we got to know that a federal government facility of that type had been completed since 2009 in our state. We sought ever since then to activate either our own or the federal government own unsuccessfully. And what is it? We simply requested for a short code for emergency call. The short code exists, but there's no authorization to activate it. What is it? 112. And emergency insecurity is no respecter of any affiliation.
Not at all.
It doesn't know whether you're a black man or you're a white man. Tall, short, man, woman, Yoruba, Ishekiri, or a gun. No, it doesn't recognize it. If it doesn't recognize your ethnicity, why would it recognize your party affiliation?
That's right.
The prayer is that one must not be a victim. So, talking about security, therefore, I'm keen in drawing our attention to the fact that we must all look at it as central to whatever it is that we are looking at or considering Nigeria. I had the brilliant submissions we made on the improvements that either have come or are very foreseeable in our land. But the real truth is this: as it is so, and painfully, tragically so, in the Northeast, All these things will be useless if insecurity pervades our land. You don't need a soothsayer to tell you. A staccato of gunshot will scatter here now. And that has been the experience in the state of Nigeria. You talk of tele-density that is totally low, from 400,000 at best nationwide to 120 million subscribers. That's the truth. Statistical data from NCC. I'm not doubting, I'm not assuming it. 400,000 some 35, 40 years ago.
11 years.
Okay, to 120 million subscribers. But as well as he spoke about social media, it is not so in Nigeria, because the internet penetration in Nigeria is abysmally low because of broadband shortage. Penetration shortage is 4.something%. Where am I driving at? I'm simply telling us that if we can equally give attention to security, even along the line of information management, information and communication management, organizational management, there is nothing to it to prevent insecurity. After all, London is today the most camera covered city in the world. You can't do anything in any part of London without you being, and communication play in any society. I want your counsel. You may say you are not there. I know there's a Ministry of Science and Technology now. I mean, yes. There's one form of there's a Ministry for communication technology outside information. Yeah. I know. So I'm not trying to push you out of your own field. I'm saying that please let it be part of your consideration, the need to up the ante in using information tool as a tool of guaranteeing security, because there can't be any development really without security. That is one. The second is directly your own, and I'm taking it from your own position that look, after election, during the preparation for election, everybody is free to beat his own drum and sing his own song. Don your own color. But after the election, what is expected of all statesmen is to put on the garb of statesmanship and forget about the differences. As it is for executives, so is it for all the other practitioners in our field. It's neither here nor there. We take the partisanship, and I'm saying this consciously, beyond the limit of reason. We do. It would be a lie to say we don't. After all, wherever it is you are serving, you are not serving different human beings, you are serving Nigerians. Exactly. At the national level, at the state level, at all levels, they are Nigerians who are serving. So if indeed the interests of the nation and the citizens are the interests that are paramount, why can't we just simply focus on serving the interests of Nigerians and Nigeria? And put behind us partisanship, as it should be, I'm happy you made reference to the the development of the train service. Before anybody thought it was anything, we had concentrated on the use of train. Transformation agenda had not started when I used the train to beat the security harassment here to enter Osun in 2005. 2005, I wanted to campaign here, and they sealed all the roads. They were threatening fire and brimstone if I should come. I looked at them and laughed. I went to the Nigerian Train Railway. I said, "Can you go to Osogbo?" They said, "Yes. You pay us, we go." I pay you. I took a lot of coaches. We were the one clearing the sand from the travel from Lagos. Nobody expected us. We entered there. The number of us that entered was more than the number of security men stationed to hold us. We just went through and did what we had to do. And that's that. And since then, we knew the power of railways. So, and I'm happy that there is equal consciousness at the federal level, and that's how it should be. That's right. We can't be rivals. That's true. That's true. Federating unit and federal authority, they can't be rivals. We can only complement one another. That's true. And the understanding of this will go a long way in making our nation very great. And the strength of Africa, in fact, if you know why some of us are as zealous as we are, which I know you know, but others must know, is because we so much recognize the significance of Nigeria, not only in Africa, for the black man. Look, Nigeria cannot afford to fail. It's a duty that this country succeeds. We are the only hope for the black man to make meaningful existence on earth. We are the only hope. Which other nation has the capacity of Nigeria amongst the nations in which blacks are? No, just imagine it. In terms of the human concentration, in terms of the potentials, in terms of even strength, when you combine the two, size and strength, you combine the two, none. South Africa, how many are they, white and black? 30 million people. They are not as many as Yorubas in Nigeria. I'm talking about which nation has the capacity of Nigeria? That's right. That's right. So our strength, therefore, is so enormous and strategic for the black that whoever is black and does not wish Nigeria well is an idiot. Right. That line must be repeated. Whoever is black and does not wish Nigeria well is an idiot. So all of us, therefore, who it a duty to make Nigeria succeed and work. It is our clear consciousness of that is driving us to do what we are doing in spite of all the odds. So I said I will not preempt myself. I have a lot to tell you. I will say little at night for those of you who come for the party. I like to talk. I will say a lot tomorrow when I deliver my opening speech. That's right. But for now, I'm happy to have you and welcome you.
Thank you.
Let's sit down. Did you finish? We are almost forgotten, and that was began with the branding of the state. I was called all sorts of names. They called me. Some said I was a jihadist. Some said I was an Islamist. Some said I wanted to secede. But the truth is, there is nothing that we are doing that is extraordinary. Whoever is above 50 years will realize that all the regions have their symbols and identities before now. So what we have done in Osun is just to adopt the crest of Western region that was used during. Yeah, this is quite interesting, and I want you to know the meaning. We have our flag. And let me start by telling you that with this we are not competing with Nigeria at all. As I told you, only a fool, only a black fool will not support and cherish Nigeria. Since we are no fools, we see ourselves and we are proud to be Nigerians. In being Nigerian, we recognize our own existence as a state in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And part of the privileges, 7 of them, Yorubas had 7 progenitors, and we are all descendants from each of them. We believe we are one, part of it all. So it's for the unity of our own particular race in the Nigerian structure. The effigy in the middle is called Ori Olokun. When Frobenius, a German excavator archaeologist, discovered unearthed this in Ife some hundreds of years ago, he said definitely this artwork could not have been produced by anybody from the area because of the sophistication of the artwork, the symmetry and rhyme, as well as the material used. But for other reasons,
the first and most important for me and all of us seated is the unique historical greatness of our country. Never since the Egyptian civilization has any nation been founded on the surface of Africa that offers so much hope for the progress and development of black people, of Africa. Never since ancient Egypt. Never. And I would like to recommend a small book for our friends and our children. The book is written by a retired Reverend Father who was teaching at Nsukka and stayed several years teaching philosophy in the United States. I came across it in my journalism years. And what the book is the African origin of Greek philosophy. Everybody must read that book. And in my own researches in the university, I also found that iron was first smelted into tools between the Niger and Benue confluence. In fact, by the time that iron was being used in Africa, the rest of the world was still under what you call the Stone Age. Yeah. And in 1987, a Fulani man that was digging for water for his animals in River Yobe discovered a canoe. That canoe, which was quite far in the ground, was taken out and was taken to the University of Maiduguri, the history department. And they did radiocarbon dating of that canoe by German experts. It dated about 9,500 years. And that canoe could never have been hollowed by stone tools. It definitely would have been hollowed together by iron tools. And 9,500 years ago coincides with the new Stone Age in the history we were taught in school. In other words, when the rest of the world was still considering Stone Age 9,500 years ago, Africans here in our country were already in the Iron Age. Now, we must know, because sometimes people just think that race is different. You know, remember, even Hobbes said we are not capable of philosophy. Even Thomas Jefferson said we are not capable of philosophy. But as they came deeper, we found clearly that the white race was the last to come to civilization. Even the Mayan Indians were quite far ahead of Europe. So, this civilization moves in cycles. It started in Sub-Saharan Africa, it went on to Ethiopia and became a great civilization, from Ethiopia to Egypt. When European archaeologists discovered the springs in Egypt, they knocked at the nose because the Great Springs was in Africa. Everybody knows that. You need to go back to Herodotus, the histories, and you will find that in that book, Africa was celebrated. Even go to literature, if you're a literature student, go back to your book, the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer, which is about the Achaean War in Troy. You will find in that book, particularly the Odyssey, that Egypt, Ethiopia, was described as the place where the sun rises and falls. And that compared to the rest of humanity, Egypt was described as the land of science and medicine. So if you look at the progress that was made, very clearly, Africans traveled from here to Australia 50,000 years before any other race was able to use the sea. So we can tell you clearly that a lot of the rubbish that you read in literature, particularly in the last 200 years or 500 years of European power, is what happens when a new generation comes and moves ahead. It begins to interpret the world in its own image. But definitely, everybody knows that this continent, not only from the point of view of history, that everybody started out here. The rest of humanity started out here. The Great Lakes were the centers of civilization. So we're a proud race, often not understanding who we are. In physical strength, in mental strength, in agility, no one, because it's still clear, compares to us. If you go to everywhere we had a space, in the US, for example, the black man couldn't vote until 1965. Between then and now, I've already produced a president. Even the Jews, with all the economic and cultural power, they are yet to get there. In music, we're in front. In basketball, between 1965 and now, we're almost 70-80% of it. So the head that makes the best musical tune can construct the best engine. And I can tell you that this nation that we're in now is the hope not only of Africa. So many things will come out of Nigeria that will shock the world. We just need to get our act together. Let's get our act together. Let's stop all the uniqueness, and yet we have to be in our diversity. I like Yoruba music. I was in Lagos.
You must like it.
Absolutely. I was always at the shrine with Fela.
You must.
So there are a lot of things that are good. And what we expect in Nigeria is that let people bring out their best. Yes. Bring out your best. The nation will move forward. Our unity is solid and united. So for all Africans all over the world, particularly those of us who come from a conscious community, we must understand that in this world today, if you don't know where you are coming from, somebody will tell your children that they are inferior. But I can see many European girls now want the lip, they want the bomb, they want this. Gradually, what was seen as not beautiful
will be very beautiful.
Is now getting to be more beautiful. So Nigeria is the place to defend this continent. And I thank you for all the comments you made. Thank you, people of Osun State. Thank you very much. Shall we have the anthem?